Okay.
Well, let me just do a little quick thing here. So if somebody's just dialing in and watching the video here and doesn't understand what's going on, this is the back tape of the radio show for Firing Line Radio. FiringLineRadio.com is where you get all the podcasts. If you want to have them on Apple or whatever, it's all available there. We're just sharing with you the stupidity that's involved in creating a radio program, because there's not enough stupid stuff on YouTube. We want to help, and that's where we're at with that. We're playing around with this, trying to figure out the best way to do it. So bear with us. I hope you enjoy the show. And if you're tired of seeing this on video, just go to the podcast and we won't bother you anymore. So firinglineradio.com is where those are at. And you've already found the YouTube channel. And today we're going to have a ton of sponsor discounts and a magical giveaway for, here it is, Proof Pro Deal, 30% off, man. Proof Pro Deal, 30% off. So we'll talk about that coming up. All right, Dr. Dan, anytime you want to start this show, we're good. Whatever reason, that always sucks there. Sounds great on radio, though.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
Hello, folks. Welcome to another edition of Firing Line Radio Show. This is Philip Naiman. I hope you're having a great day wherever you are. One of the fun things about doing this radio show is meeting these guys who invent fantastic products and to bring them to you guys with a discount. So last week on the show, you had Dan Smitchko from Cutting Edge Bullets. Cutting Edge Bullets makes some fantastic long range, high quality, super specific rifle bullets and handgun bullets too, but also hunting bullets and ELR specific bullets. They're kind of pricey, but they're absolutely worth the money. But to help you out with the price of such a thing, we got a 20% discount at Cutting Edge Bullets. So go to cuttingedgebullets.com, use code FiringLine, 20% off your entire order. You can't get any better than that, folks. You've got some absolutely great bullets. If you hand load, this is the time to start setting up your loads for next year. So we're looking out for you on that. Also, one of our main sponsors is CCW Safe. CCW Safe is a legal protection plan that gives you unlimited criminal and civil liability coverage. They help you out in every way possible, whether it's from, and we'll talk more about this next week with my guests, Don West and Sean Lawrence, about CCW Safe specifically. But understand that their program is absolutely the best if you ever have to use it. I pray you never need to, but if you have to defend your life, CCW Safe is the one you want. And they have a code FLRadio10, FLRadio10 for 10% off on that. And just save yourself some money. They don't do price raises. So if you're in at this price, it'll be your price forever. Also, we have Maglite. If you are looking for a dependable light, not a China light that's somewhere on the boat between Shanghai and Honolulu right now, but if you're looking for a dependable American-made light that in extreme circumstances can run for 400 hours on one battery, well, that's the Maglite, and you want to check that out. Maglite.com, Firing Line 15, Firing Line 15 for obviously a 15% discount. We also have swag. So if you like our Firing Line shirts, we have some pretty cool ones, I think. I like the one that says toxic. It's a toxic masculinity is what it's warning. It's a warning label for soy boys and everybody else out there that just understand this is toxic masculinity coming through, and we're not afraid to admit it. And then EMP Shield, EMPShield.com. We have Firing Line as a discount, 50% off, 50%, excuse me. They'd be upset with that. $50 off every item that they have online. And Accutac bipods 2022 Firing Line is their discount, and that's another 20% off on that. So folks, those are what we're setting up for you, and I want to make sure that you access these. You can also find our sponsors right on our page. If you go to firinglineradio.com, I have a link there to all the sponsors and vendors. You can go straight to them from our page, and then you don't have to worry about all the different websites I just told you about. Just go to firinglineradio.com, click on our vendor sponsors tab, and we'll help you help yourself, because I'm just giving that way. All right. So this particular show, yep. So this particular show, I wanted to talk a little bit about, I actually looked at my notes. I should never do that. Simple rifle modifications. Okay. Simple rifle modifications. And I'm picking a classic rifle. You know, everybody's always got a Remington 700 or 700 clone. Because of their popularity, even the used rifles have kind of gone through the roof in pricing. But I tell you what, there's a rifle out there that seems to slip through the cracks. And if you're looking for a long range shooter rifle, if you're looking for a hunting rifle, if you're just looking for a target rifle, these really are hard to beat. And what I'm talking about are the Savage rifle platforms, whether the Savage 10, 110, 111, Savage 11, well, let me start with that. Excuse me. The Savage 10 and 11 is short action versus long action. So that's the number one thing on that. So if it ends with a 0, whether 10 or 11, it's a short action. If it ends with a 1, it's a long action. That's your easy way to tell what you're looking at on that. So 10 or 11. Now, we're going to talk today about just a Savage 10 and simple modifications you can do. You can find these things used pretty inexpensive. Now, Savage has been making rifles for 70, 80 years, making these rifles probably for 40 years. But anyway, they've been making rifles for a very, very long time. Actually, they've been making rifles over 100 years. Sorry about that. But their bolt action rifles, the 10 and the 110, have some really cool features on them that make them inherently accurate, which is interesting. Most rifles that are mass produced, the Remington 700, Winchester Model 70, when they're mass produced in the old manufacturing standards, their precision wasn't always as consistent as it can be with today's modern techniques. Now, Savage has a couple of advantages to it. One is it has what they call a floating head on the bolt. Now, those of you who are just listening on radio, bolt action rifle is typically what you would see in a hunting rifle or a long range rifle, where you literally have to lift the bolt up, pull it back to expose the next round, push it forward. It loads the rifle, push it down, it cams into place. So you have the right head space and it's safe to fire. Fire the gun. When you lift the bolt again, pull it back, it ejects the old case, the bolt pushed forward loads your next one. So that's your simple bolt action modification, or excuse me, manipulation. With most, let's say there's 3 different types. Some bolts are what's called a push feed. The old, meaning, now the Remington 700 is a push feed. When you push the bolt forward, it does not grab the back of the case, control it, and put it into the chamber. It kind of bounces it out of the magazine into a funnel type area. And then as you push the bolt forward, it kind of dingles into the chamber. Doesn't sound that bad, or it isn't as bad as I described it, but that's what the way it is. The original Winchester Model 70s had what was called a claw, or a controlled feed. Mausers have a control feed, where as you push the bolt forward, the extractor clips over the back of the case, grabs it solid, and pushes it straight forward. So, you know, it's a German design, right? Everything has to be controlled. So it's very, very rigid, very controlled on that. So that's the Mauser action. The original Winchester Model 70s had that also. Then from 64 to about, I don't know, 90 or so, Winchester made a push feed similar to the Remington 700. Then they went back to a claw feed after that, or the control feed, if you will. So there's several different types of Winchesters out there. The other bolt that is available is the floating head, and that's kind of what it is what the Savage has. So it has a 2-part head. The head of the bolt is what pushes forward and locks into the barrel. As you pull the bolt down, you're actually camming those front lugs on the bolt into place. And there's a 2-part on the Savage. So what it allows it to do is it allows it to actually line up from the bolt face correctly into the barrel axis. On a Remington 700 or the older Winchesters, you may have a slight machining tolerance that's off, and you don't have a direct alignment between the bolt and the axis of the barrel. And sometimes when people are chambering, they don't. Yeah. Anyway, there's lots of things you can do to mess up a gun and make it inaccurate. But if you're going to have your gun accurized like a 700 or 70, Winchester 70, they typically will do what's called blueprinting the action. And that's squaring everything off. It's squaring off the bolt face with the threads of the barrel and the receiver face. So when everything matches up, it's 100% square. With a Savage, because of their design, that step isn't really necessary. So that's an advantage. If you're looking to make a gun accurate and you don't have a high budget, here's some ways I've done some of these rifles that have been very accurate, pretty much cost effective, I believe. And I mean, they're accurate. They're fun to shoot. They're super accurate guns. So with the Savage 10 or 110, you've got that already built in. Now, the next thing is Savage. Most of the guns out there have what's called an Accu stock. So if you're playing along at home and you're watching on the video, I have a half-built Savage 10 in the stock, and I'll describe this more when I come back, but it's an important feature to have. We talk about it all the time. You want to have a very solid stock. It's important. We're going to talk about what Savage does, how they make that, and why you need one. So folks, Philip Naiman, firinglineradio.com. We'll be right back after this.
All righty.
You good on that?
One is in the books.
It's always
Not quite close. Significantly progress on it. Significant.
significant progress on this show. Yeah.
Yeah. We have part one now.
Uno.
All right. So 9.5 this segment.
9.5, sir.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am. And we're going to get this squared away here. All right.
Here goes.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up. See this? This is my boomstick.
That's right, folks. Welcome back to Boomstick Radio. Philip Naiman here. I hope you're having a great day. We're talking about accurizing rifles and trying to do it in the most cost-effective way because, with Joe-flation going on, we need to save money everywhere we can. And as always, if you're a listener to the show, things cost about $100, and we want to keep it right around that price range. Your mileage may vary, but it's going to be around $100 for pretty much everything. So we're talking about Savage 10s, Savage 111s, and this particular rifle we have has got an Accu stock. Now, the Accu stock is an aluminum bedding that Savage builds on their rifles. If you just buy one that says Accu stock on it, it's already got this in there. Why is that important? Because if you just have a polymer rifle, and it's different if you have like the Macmillans, the MC3s, they're extremely solid, but most of those original fiberglass or polymer rifles are flimsy. Some of them that came like on the Remington SPS, that stands for silly plastic stock. That's how bad that is. If you grab the fore end and the pistol grip, you can literally wrench it. So you're not going to get a lot of stability from a shooting platform with that kind of a stock. So anyway, Savages, the way that they solve that problem is they put an aluminum bedding in it. So this aluminum block holds your action. It's bolted right through it. It also channels the barrel. So the beginning of this barrel action has a little bit of support underneath it for the barrel, but the rest of the barrel channel is free floated. And I do recommend almost all cases you free float your barrel. There are a few times where barrel pressure is important or can help. Most of the time it doesn't. So let's go with the most of the times and free float the barrel. There'll be nothing touching the barrel from the chamber forward, the first 2 inches of the chamber, or excuse me, nothing should be touching the sides or the bottom of the barrel from about 2 inches from the beginning of the barrel to the end of it. It should be free floating. This allows for that. So you've got an extremely solid lockup when you're dealing with an AccuStock. And as you torque it down to specifications, you're pretty much good to go. You've got the other part on this, this particular one, I had an aftermarket detachable box magazine put in. Why did I do that? Because I like to use the same magazines for all of my rifles. So I have AICS magazine. Anyway, I have the common standard magazines for all of my short actions. So they can shoot the 243 Ackley, the 6 Creedmoor, 308. They're all the same magazines. And I can use my magazines interchangeably on all of my short action rifles as long as I have the same detachable box magazine setup. So this was done by CDI out of Florida. I don't believe they're in business anymore. I think there's a tragedy that happened after the hurricane down there, but you should be able to find somebody to help you out with the detachable box magazine. The detachable box magazines that come with the Savages, sorry, Savage, they're crap. They make them. You don't want them. You want the standard magazine that everybody's using. The Savage proprietary magazine is just, no. I already said it. So you don't want that. You want to switch that out. That would be something that you should look into. Also, when you're buying your Savage and you want to put scopes on it, some of the older models are round top. The newer models are flat top. What does that mean? Well, Savage is made out of a tubular magazine, tubular bolt receiver. And the top of the original ones were rounded. Now in the back, now what they have is they've actually squared off the top so you can use a flat mount in the back. Makes more sense, but this is the way they were. So if you're buying your mounts, you want to make sure that you have the correct mount for it. This is just a simple, I think it's got an aluminum weaver on it. Obviously this rifle is not built up. I bought it used. That's what was on it. And it will not stay that way. I'll put a nice one-piece steel base on this rifle when I'm ready for it. But that's just what we've got going on here. You can also modify the bolt knob. So on a Savage, you can find these things all over the place. They're not that expensive, and it's a pretty easy operation to switch out a bolt knob. And so give yourself a nice fat handle, because it looks cool. You have the cool feature immediately just by putting a big fat bolt handle on that sucker. Okay, so you have a detachable box magazine. That's a great thing. You have the bolt. Those are all simple things. Also, Savage has an Accu trigger. Accu trigger is adjustable. If you're buying a used rifle, you probably won't get the tool for it, but it's a very small Allen wrench. Take the rifle out of the stock. Obviously, it's unloaded. I feel stupid having to say that, but obviously you unload the gun. Take the bolt out. Take the action out of the stock. Turn it upside down, and there's a small little hole in the back of the trigger. There's several YouTube videos on how to do it. I watched them before I adjusted mine. You unscrew it, you set it with your gauge to see where you want it, and it basically will go down as low as 1.5 pounds on a Savage Accu trigger. So if you're shooting PRS, maybe that's where you want it. Your trigger level is wherever you decide to have it. If you think a 5.5 pound trigger is what you need, then by all means, get a 5.5 pound trigger. If you think you have the ability to shoot with a 1.5, then that's on you. We're big boys here. And girls. I'm not both, but I'm one of those. I just haven't decided yet. But we're all big people. We have to make our own decisions. And especially when it comes to firearms, what you want is what you want. What you get is what you make. So if you want to have a lighter trigger on it, understand the responsibilities that come with that. Okay. And then we're going to go over the stock. Now, we did talk about the AccuStock has an aluminum block. The aluminum block extends back through the pistol grip of this. So you have a very rigid stock. But in today's modern rifles shooting, we're going to be dealing with the larger scope. We've got unbelievably beautiful optics available to us, very high precision at an inexpensive pricing. but most traditional rifles were not created to shoot that large of a scope. You've got a 30 millimeter tube, you've got a 50 millimeter bell. So what that does is it raises your line of sight far above what the original stock was designed for. So how do you combat that? Well, I use this Matthews fabrication, $34 Kydex cheek piece. I do drill 2 holes right through the stock, but that's okay. If I don't have this on there, the gun doesn't shoot for me. So I'll drill 2 holes right through the stock, bolt the sucker on in about 5 minutes. I'm done. It's fully adjustable. I can get my eye wherever I want to have it. Obviously, this gun doesn't have a scope on it, but I can adjust the cheek piece so that I've got a full field of view when I'm on the rifle. That is so important. If you don't have that, you're going to miss every single shot. The parallax comes in. You'll think the gun's crud. Matter of fact, if you've got a great gun that you can't shoot and doesn't have a cheek piece on it, I'll give you $100 for it. So just contact me in a PM because I know how to fix that. Also, on the back end, we want to make sure that you have a good recoil pad. I love limb savers. I love Pachmayr decelerators. I like a big, soft, cushy pad. And it's not because of the recoil. I mean, this is a short action gun, right? So what recoil is there? There really isn't any recoil, but I like the way that it sticks on your shoulder. If you're prone or different positions, it's got a little bit of grabby to it that will stick on your shirt or your backpack strap or whatever you're using and help it stay in position and help it from sliding. Some of the older, you can shoot this gun with a hard plate on it, but it's slick. And so I like the fact that with a good recoil pad, it gives me some grabbiness, if you will, on the shoulder mount. So that's an important thing. Also, you're switching out the barrels. This is one of the great things about the Savage, is that with a Savage, you can actually get a plug and play barrel. And what I mean by that is Proof Research, one of our product sponsors, actually makes Savage pre-fit barrels. And here's my lead in for you guys. You have to stick around to the next commercial to get the way to win a great discount on this. So folks, Philip Naiman, Firing Line Radio. Check us out at firinglineradio.com. We'll be right back after this. Dan, I need a little interlude music while you're refixing the thing. Could you just hum something maybe? I could switch the microphone over to my dog. She's snoring in the corner again. This dog, she won't leave. She won't leave. But as soon as the show starts, she starts snoring. It's like, I don't know if people can hear it or not, but that fat dog snores.
Needs a CPAP machine.
Yeah, well, she needs to run. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. We're ready to go. Here we go.
Spartans, lay down your weapons. Come and get them.
Hey folks, welcome back to Firing Line Radio Show. You know, one of the things one of the many things I always fail to do, and that is announce future shows and future guests that we have lined up. And I should do that. But again, it's one more of my personal failings. Just bear with me on that. So I do want to take this opportunity now to actually announce who we have coming up on the show. So next week, I've got Don West and Sean Lawrence from CCW Safe. Don West is an amazing attorney. Sean Lawrence is a litigation specialist. These guys work on self-defense cases nationwide. They've got such great knowledge we want to share with you on those issues. The week after that, I've got Dave Skinner. Dave Skinner is a very special man who's been fighting in the West to open up the public lands and properties and to stop the rewilding issues. And if you don't know what that is, you're going to need to hear that show because we've been preaching that a long time. And if it hasn't yet, it's coming to a forest near you. Then I'm going to have Mickey from Carry Trainer. I got to meet him at the Oklahoma CCW Safe affiliate conference. Funny guy, great trainer, Great information. So he'll be on after that. And then I've got Big Mike from Smash Time. I was on his show last week, and we'll have him coming on, and we'll talk more about some gun reviews and good stuff that just makes life worthwhile, or one of the reasons life is worthwhile. Today, I'm finishing off. Right now, we're talking about how to upgrade a rifle. You know, if you're able to find something in a sales rack somewhere, some lost and dusty, poor, forlorn rifle that needs a new home, it is your duty to provide such a home. You should not leave the said rifle where it is. It's sad. Rifles should be brought home, cleaned up, reinvigorated, and then shot to your heart's desire. So that's what we're talking about here. And what we're focusing on today are the Savages. And I didn't go into long actions really at all because there's such a short action craze. We'll just stick with that. One of the things that we're talking about are the Savage platform. When Savage, the bolt we talked about already, how it has a bit of a floating head. The other thing that's really awesome with Savage is it has what's called a barrel nut. They're not talking about me. The barrel nut, after the barrel is placed inside it, it's one more tensioning device that keeps it correct for headspace. So it's very simple. If you are a home gunsmith with a vise and a go or no-go gauge, which are very important, you can swap your barrels out on your Savages in a matter of minutes. I've seen it done. I have a buddy of mine, he shoots a 6.5 Creedmoor, 6 Creedmoor. It's the same rifle. He just unbolts one, bolts on the other, and hopefully brings the right ammo with him that day. But it's an easy operation. And so by using the Savage nut system, you can unscrew and screw on any barrel that you want, chambered for the Savages. And as long as it has the same bolt face, you're good to go. So this particular one, it started off its life off as a 708. So I could shoot 308, 243, Creedmoor, 6 Creedmoor, 22 Creedmoor, 6.5 Creedmoor, more Creedmoor, 260 Remington, 7mm 308, 338 338 Federal, all those different things. Anything off of a 308 based case, I can shoot off of this platform without changing out the bolt face. I would just swap out the rifle. Excuse me, swap out the barrel. So now Proof Research, you can find them at proofresearch.com, or just go to our website and click on the vendor thing, it says Proof Research. Proof Research has Savage pre-fit barrels. Now, we all know Proof because of their carbon. They make the best carbon fiber barrels around. They've got aerospace technology. They don't come unwrapped. It's kind of a big deal. They have great barrels, but they also have traditional chromoly and stainless barrels. And those are a screaming deal. Now, what do I mean by screaming deal? Well, this particular rifle that's popped up here happens to be another Savage 10, but this has got a full size 243, 6mm Creedmoor barrel on it. This was a pre-fit. I bought this from Proof Research, already chambered as a pre-fit barrel, and all it took was a wrench and a no-go gauge to swap off the old 308 barrel and put on the 6mm Creedmoor barrel. Now, here's where we're going to help you. Okay, I have my hot little hands here. I have a Proof Research 30% off pro card. Okay, what does that mean? That means that you can win this card by, I'll tell you in a second. You can win this card, get 30% off of your Proof Research. Now, if you choose to get the carbon fiber barrel, that's awesome. You'll save 30% on that. If you choose to get the stainless steel pre-fit barrel in a Savage, for instance, the retail on that I think is about $589, but it comes down to about $405. So you'll be able to get a top-notch match barrel, chambered, ready to go to screw into your rifle for $400. That's net. I think it's 580 is your retail. So 405 is your 30% off number. You can't beat that. To get a chambered, threaded, ready to go. And also it has muzzle threading on it. So if you want to put a brake on it, like I have an area 419 brake on this rifle, which I think are great brakes. it's already threaded for it. So it's saving you so much money in gunsmithing. You don't have to pay for chambering on a new barrel, which is 150 to 200 bucks, threading another 100 bucks, installing another 100 bucks. So if you get this, if you have a Savage 10 or 110 and you want to get it in, say, a 6.5 Creedmoor or 6 Creedmoor, or you have a longer action, you want to go the 6.5 PRC, they have all those, or 308, they have all those ready to go. So you have some options on that. And I just think it's probably about the best way to go if you want to pick up a used rifle, give it some love, look for the AccuStock. Right? If you can put a detachable box magazine on it, that's going to help you out. It's got the Accu trigger. All these are huge savings devices. You, for 34 bucks, get yourself the Matthews Kydex cheek piece. So you're all ready to go. A steel mount on that. The Area 419 brake, it's already threaded for it. And with the Proof Research barrel, if you win this, you're saving yourself $100+ on that. So for $405, you've got a brand new match barrel, chambered, threaded, ready to go on your rifle. You can't beat that. I wish I had more. I'll contact Bruce. I'm gonna get some more cards, but right now this is my last one I'm giving away. And how are you going to get that? Well, you need to go to the Firing Line Radio Facebook page, and I will pick a random person off of that. I'm going to post this, how to win this. Click on there, respond it, share it, and go from there. And it wouldn't hurt your chances if you did subscribe to the YouTube page and the podcast. I'm just saying it might not hurt your chances if you did all that. But right now we're going to run off the Facebook page. So Facebook, Firing Line Radio. I'll post on there how to win it on Saturday, and you respond. We'll pick a random person. Now, the way my contest, if you will, work is I randomly pick somebody, and if you complain about it, I don't consider you for the next go round. So just it is what it is. Somebody's going to win. I hope they have a great time with this barrel, and I hope they do whatever they want with it. If they want to get the carbon fiber, God, that's glorious barrels. They'll still save some money. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about here at Firing Line Radio. How do you get a hold of us? Well, you get a hold of us at our Facebook page, Firing Line Radio. We do have a group, a private group on there. So you click the group button and you can join the private group. We do have our website, firinglineradio.com. All the podcasts are on there. Our podcasts are available on Apple, and they're all over the place, but you can get the podcast if you want. If you want to have the YouTube channel, obviously YouTube, look up Firing Line Radio. We should be somewhere in that vicinity. Still working on that program, but hopefully we're getting a little bit better. When we come back, I have one more thing. Sorry about that, folks. Oftentimes when you buy a rifle, a used rifle, such as this Savage that I bought used with the AccuStock on it, your sling swivel mounts. Your sling swivel mounts come with kind of the traditional Uncle Mike's little bumps, right? Most people like Picatinny rails now. It's a fashion statement, true, but also if you are using a higher quality bipod like the AccuTac bipod, you want to have a solid base, and a Picatinny rail will give you a better base for precision shooting than simply using something like the Harris bipod with using the sling swivel as your base on that. I have shot a lot with Harris bipods. I love them. I love them for hunting. But if you're setting yourself up for a rifle, you want to use that. And the best way to do that is with an accessory Picatinny rail platform. Bolts right on. Now you can use your Picatinny bipod and go from there. Very easy fix, very inexpensive. Okay, folks, we'll be right back. FiringLineRadio.com. I got to remember to keep this barrel nut with that rifle.
You know, you're still sharing the page.
Yep.
Okay, as long as you know.
Oh,
I don't know.
so yeah, you know what? That was not good because I should have flipped back over. You're right. See how good you are?
Oh, I'm good. Good for, yeah, never mind. You ready? Last segment, I think. Yeah, if you're ready.
I'm
Here
ready.
we go.
Yes! Great hunter. Yes? Fine figure of a man. Yes? Yes?
Yes.
That is all you need to know for now.
My wife makes me play that. I don't know if you knew that or not, but she actually makes me play that for her every day, sometimes twice a day. So that's why that clip is on there. It's just because my wife wants to hear that. She loves it. It's an important part of our life together. Yeah. Okay. So folks, if you're just joining us, well, heck, you missed half the show. You should go back and start over. But if you are just joining us, we're giving away a Proof Research Pro Deal 30% off retail card, which can save you a stack of money depending on what you decide to buy. Proof Research makes some unbelievably quality barrels. I've used them. I don't know how many. Anyway, I've used them on more than one or two. Matter of fact, I introduced my gunsmith out here in Riverside to Proof Research barrels. And now when I go see him, he's got his whole counter is full of Proof Research boxes. So that's how much people have learned of their quality and their aerospace machining, and they're fantastic. So to get 30% off on one, whatever you choose, whether it's a carbon fiber or the stainless pre-chambered, pre-threaded deal, you've got that opportunity. And how do you do that? We go to our Facebook page. Saturday, there'll be a post on there about the Proof Research deal. Share it. It would help if you did subscribe to our YouTube channel. And it might help if you subscribe to our podcast, but I will leave that up to your discretion. But that's what we're going to do on that. We're giving away that. It's great savings. I mean, it's, as I talked about in the last section, you can save a lot of money and get a quality feature on your rifle immediately. And there are times, you're not waiting 16 months in a lead time on that either. So that's another good thing. Okay. I wanted to wrap up the show with a conversation about the other guys. Okay. Undoubtedly the most popular cartridge in bolt action shooting today is the 6.5 Creedmoor. Everybody's got one or two or whatever they have, but 6.5 has been around a long time. It's kind of an interesting thing because like 30 years ago, there was the 6.5 Swedish and 6.5 55 and the 264 Win, and that was pretty much it. Maybe 6.5 47 came around on the bench, but it's been an unbelievably popular, just a mania, if you will, on 6.5 bullets, and they're great. So I want to talk about the 6.5 Creedmoor, the other guys, and what does that mean? 6.5 Creedmoor, great cartridge, but a few years back, people started necking it down to 6mm. And now that's actually a cartridge that they're selling rifles in, but it was a wildcat for a while there when I first made mine. 6mm Creedmoor is an amazing cartridge. And then the 22 Creedmoor, again, are amazing cartridges. And I have a little chart here we'll go over real quick. Also, on the other side of the scale, the older 6.5 is the 6.5 284. This has been around many years. It's been in long range shooting. It's been in competition, F class. Lots of guys love that cartridge. I think it actually holds a record or two at the 1,000 yards. So it's similar to the Creedmoor, but it does have a little bit more horsepower. We actually have hunted with one quite a bit in Wyoming, and I think it's been responsible for about 7 or 8 elk that I know of. That's what happens when I loan out my rifle. And then on the 6.5, I want to talk a little bit about what is the giant 6.5. Now, Weatherby came out with a 6.5 300 Weatherby. Amazing cartridge. I happen to shoot the sister version, which is a 6.5 shooting times Western. It's pretty much the same. Ballistics are the same. The cartridge is very close. Weatherby, of course, has a double radius shoulder. The 6.5 STW is made by necking down essentially 375, or 8mm or 7 STW down to 6.5, but it's a 375 length case, just like the 300 Weatherby, but it doesn't have the double radius shoulder. It has your basic, 30 degrees sloping shoulder. So the 6.5 STW is kind of has the same ballistics as the 6.5 300 Weatherby. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what these cartridges do at extended yardages. So if you're playing along with me online here on the YouTube channel, you'll see that we've got a 22 Creedmoor. Now I'll read this off for you folks, but the 22 Creedmoor is a 6.5 neck down to 22. The best bullet that I've found for that, for target shooting, is the Sierra 95 grain SMK. It is an amazing bullet. You need a super fast twist. They recommend a 1 in 6.5. I'm shooting it out of a 1 in 7 twist barrel. I have no problems with that. It stabilizes the bullet, but you're able to shoot this 95 grain 22 caliber bullet about 3,200 feet a second. And the gun will have absolutely zero recoil. So again, we're using the Area 419 brake, but you can spot your shots. And just as an example here, if you're at 1,000 yards, I'm dealing with MOA. If you're an MRAD guy, do your own conversions. But and I'm using the Vortex ballistic calculator. If you go to Vortex Optics on the upper third, top of the page on the right-hand side, there's LRBC, long range ballistic calculator. I find it to be very accurate and easy to use. Easy is the most important thing for me on that. So anyway, you plug this in here, 100 yard zero. This 22 has got 20 minutes of elevation needed for a 1,000-yard shot. That's pretty darned incredible shooting a 95 grain 22 caliber bullet. Now on the 6mm Creedmoor, I shoot the 105 class bullets. Lots of good manufacturers out there. Berger, I shoot the Nosler RDF. These are all target rounds, target bullets. The Sierra's got them. Anybody's 105. They're all going to have a ballistic coefficient around 540 to 560, somewhere in that. And so I would say whichever one you have is the one you should use for that. Some guys will use the 115s if you can find them. Oftentimes the hybrid ogive Bergers I haven't had the best accuracy because the seating depth, I haven't found that magic button. But on the other ones, the 105s, they shoot like a house of fire. So if you had a 6 Creedmoor and you're shooting the 105s and you're shooting them at 3,100 feet a second, which is typically what you'd find in a PRS course, at 100 yard zero, you've got 22 minutes of drop at 1,000 yards. Again, super, super flat. And then if you want to talk about the other gun, the 6.5 284, which is not a Creedmoor case, it's actually off of a Winchester 284, a little bit bigger. So it has basically the same drop as a 6 Creedmoor with a 142 grain bullet. So it's got 22.4 minutes and it still is carrying 1,000 pounds of energy at 1,000 yards, which most people would say is probably enough for a deer-sized game or antelope-sized game. So to carry that much power out there with a very efficient bullet, it's what you're looking for. You don't have to hunt at that range, but if you're shooting steel, shooting rocks, I like to kill rock monsters. I see them all over the desert. Sometimes they charge. But if you're out there shooting rocks, shooting your targets, shooting what you're intended to shoot, it's great to know that that's how flat that is. And then let's compare this now. So 6.5 has some great bullet offerings. We'll push this up to the 6.5 300 Weatherby / Shooting Times Western class. And with a 145 grain bullet, 100 yard zero, you're looking at 15 minutes of drop at 1,000 yards. And you're looking at 1,500 foot-pounds of energy at 1,000 yards with a 142 grain bullet. That's smoking. That is demonstrably bigger. Many people will tell you, I'm kind of in this camp. Number one, you need the right bullet construction. Number two, you have to have energy at distance. And many people will say that if you're hunting an elk-sized quarry, you need at least 1,500 foot-pounds of energy at your hunting distance. So if it's 300 yards and you've got 1,800 pounds out of your rifle at 300 yards, it's perfect. That's great. If you're shooting something or intend to shoot something farther, you need to have the horsepower. And it's important to have a full-size cartridge to get things done at extended ranges. Plus, if you're just shooting targets or steel or something out there, it's nice to see it hit that fast. It is quite satisfying to pull the trigger, ring the steel before you feel the recoil on the rifle. So that's a great thing. And also on the 6.5 300 Weatherby 6.5 STW, you're going to get recoil. You're burning 90 grains of powder. You're going to get a lot of recoil. It's not made for rapid fire. It's made for specific purposes. If you want to hunt with that gun, it's an amazing laser beam, flatter than a 22 Creedmoor, flatter than just about anything else you're going to find, because you're using the highest quality bullets at hyper speeds. And when you match that, if you're going to do hunting, you match it with the 145 grain cutting edge laser so it doesn't come apart. You've got great penetration, great terminal performance, amazing accuracy. And so that's my rundown today on the Creedmoor / other 6.5s to round off our show. Folks, check us out, firinglineradio.com. Check out the vendor discounts. They're there for you. I hope you use them all and save a ton of money. And the next week, we'll have Don West and Sean Lawrence on. You guys have a great weekend. God bless. Rodeo.
It worked.
It worked. It always works. Pro deal. Pro deal. Had to cover the codes in case somebody looks it up.
Oh, gotta do the promo.
Promo and then the 1 minute deal.